Thank you for tuning in to the Music Lovers Podcast, where we explore all types of music,
reminiscing on the old jams and putting you on to what's new.
We are your hosts, Megan.
Ashley,
and Kalila, and we want to know.
Do you speak music?
Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Music Lovers Podcast. We are your hosts, Kalila, Megan,
sorry.
and hey, everybody, welcome back to the Music Lovers Podcast. We are your hosts, Kalila, Ashley, and Megan. Thank you again for your support. Thank you for all of the love that you guys are showing us. We love the feedback, the comments, the suggestions. Of course, we take those too. Last week, we had a chance to chat with my granny, Miss Lorraine, Miss English, and I've heard a lot of those stories before, but I always love hearing them in a new way and a new perspective each and every time. So that was definitely fun for me. I want to obviously, chat with Megan and Ashley. We'll definitely talk about our thoughts on episode 5 later on. But for right now, we can kind of get into not necessarily music news, but there have been some memes surrounding social media that got me mad. So I want to just address it.
Like that.
And then after that, we gonna dead it and we said what we said. Okay?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay, so here's the one. So there was one that I found.
Here's the one.
This is the one that kind of blew me the most. So it's one I saw on Facebook, and it said one has to go in everything they've ever been a part of. The people in this meme are Neo, Chris Brown, and I hate to say his name, but we won't say his name. But he may have made songs like Foreplay and some other hits that were prominent in the Black community. And the last person is Jacquees. Now, for me personally, while I do not play that man's music anymore, to even have him in the same category as somebody Jacquees is just absolute disrespect.
Flat out.
Flat out. Like, it had nothing to do, like, of course, when I ignore anything he's done, but his just based on music and the musical category that he has, for you to put him in the same category as this young man who claims to be the king of R&B is absolutely disrespectful to me. I mean, what do y'all think?
I think so. We're gonna have to say his name, Megan. I'll say his government name, Mr. Robert Kelly. Does not at all belong. I feel like Chris Brown and Neo don't deserve to be in the category with R. Kelly. While I do admire Neo's songwriting skills because he has written consistent hits, let's not forget. But R. Kelly was he's on a whole nother level of musical genius. Like, I will never take that away from him. As trash of a person as he is, the music stands for itself. Like, there's not a person alive that has not heard an R. Kelly song. That's it. I feel like you can go somewhere in the world, anywhere in the world, and ask them if they know who R. Kelly is, and they probably do. Like, everybody heard I Believe I Can Fly.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's just undeniable. That man's in a category by himself. But Jacquees, he don't deserve to be with Chris Brown.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, even he don't deserve to be in the category with neither one. Like, I think we could put R. Kelly in there with somebody else, like some people who had like the same amount of music in like the musical category that he has. Chris Brown and Neo could be in the same category. I agree with that.
Yeah.
Jacquees has not done nearly enough in his career to even be mentioned in these little squares.
Not at all.
You have to get the children off the internet, maybe.
Not at all. Like, what is his talent?
Oh, goodness. Okay, here we go.
What?
This Kalila, y'all. For those of you not watching the YouTube video, and those of you who are like just listening to us on the podcast platforms, this is me. Here we go. I don't even know where Jacquees came from, but to try to compare his musical career to R. Kelly, to Neo, to Chris Brown, I just think he doesn't even belong in that category. That's number one. Number two, if we're going to answer the question and say one has to go in everything they've ever been a part of, I would volunteer him for tribute. Like, you gotta go, you know? But I'm just trying to figure out what 19-year-old
girl
put this together, because certainly no millennial, nobody from, you know, the 80s up until 94, I think is a cutoff, would even do that. Yeah. Okay. I said my piece, but
Yeah. We said
it was definitely a child.
we said what we said. I feel like a lot of people probably agree, and if you have, I mean, we ready to we'll go back and forth with you in the comments if it came down to that. But
I mean, listen, even the fact that the other one, I think Ashley put in over the last week about the possible Chris Brown versus Usher. You know, it's like
that one makes me mad too.
Like, well, it's got to be somebody in 9th grade, because we all know. Listen, I just turned 30. So when I think of Usher, I automatically think of Confessions, which for me was, you know, this not a road trip, but like this coach bus trip to Atlanta with my entire 8th grade class. So you think about these, you know, 13-year-olds at the height of puberty listening to Confessions literally 2 days after it came out on the way to Atlanta. And I'm like, there's no comparison. I love Chris Brown.
Same.
You know, I will say that he has made some great music. I won't say that I am qualified to go head to head or like toe to toe on hit for hit. I ain't that much of a CB fan. Like, I don't know that. But Chris Brown versus Usher, like, what? No.
There's no. Go ahead, Ashley.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, I listen to both equally, I would say. So I feel like I have enough knowledge of both catalogs to really argue hit for hit. Like, I can go. We can start from the first album from both of them and go hit for hit. And honestly, I feel like Chris Brown's first album was his greatest work. That's just my opinion. Like, and even when you take that first Chris Brown album and compare it to Confessions, it just, it just won't make it.
No, it won't. And that's the thing. Usher has been in the game since like 94. That's a long time. That's a lot of music. And honestly, Chris Brown has put out a lot of music. Like probably not the same amount still. He's put out a lot of stuff, so I guess you can kind of compare. You can compare in terms of quantity, we'll say that. But in terms of quality, it's just no.
And I would even go as far as to say, I'm sure Chris Brown appreciate or like gives honor to people like Usher, who paved the way for men who don't have to choose between singing and dancing, you know, being that full entertainer. You know, we didn't really see, or I didn't really see, so like early 90s babies, we didn't really see a lot of men who were singing and dancing, aside from
Bobby Brown.
But see, I wasn't born in the 80s.
Wait,
so,
you're right.
Yeah. So Bobby Brown, I know some Bobby Brown songs, but that's because my mom was playing it.
Right.
You know, but he had been, they had been out before our time. So I kind of look at Usher as one of the first artists that I remember seeing. I could be wrong. But So quote me if I'm wrong in the comments, y'all. Let me know if somebody else I'm forgetting. But I'm thinking early 90s. I was born in 1990. I certainly don't remember much about Bobby Brown.
Right.
At that age, Bobby was old by the time I was.
I don't think he wasn't putting out nothing like for real by the time we were paying attention to music. At least he wasn't.
And we know why.
Believe that.
Yeah.
Next.
That booger sugar.
Next. Next. Look, we moving this right along. So, yeah, take it down.
Okay, wait. All right, what you listening to? Wait, go ahead.
No, the other comparison that we saw on social media this past week was Lauryn Hill versus Monica. I'm trying to think, what else did we chatting about?
I about had a stroke when I saw that.
I just don't.
It don't make sense. It don't make. Again, these are children making these. Like, that's somebody who grandma is 35, because there's no way. Like, and I'm not even comparing them to each other, because I feel like you can't. Those are two different artists, two different styles, two different aesthetics, two different just like moods. It's dumb. That's like comparing apples to zucchini. Like, it's dumb. Yeah. It makes no sense.
I agree. But I'm like, why? The thing is, they're being made, but then they're also getting attention. Like, they're getting
shared.
I'm just like, why?
And people actually voting Monica. Even if we were gonna compare the two, y'all really vote Monica over Lauryn Hill? Rap and sing?
Yeah.
Child, don't get me started.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Monica, I watched the Family Hustle. She rapping on her album that's supposed to be coming out. Just,
And Monica's probably on time, But that's still no comparison. I love me some Lauryn Hill. I would say, if I had to choose, I would say Lauryn Hill all day long.
Yes.
Same.
I would too.
Yeah.
But
I wouldn't, we don't have to put them in the same category. Okay.
Mm-mm.
All right. We had to address those things. So say our piece, let it go. Just put it out there, and yes. All right. Back to regular business. All right, who y'all been listening to this week?
I've been all over the place this week.
Me too.
Whoever want to go first.
I was listening to Jacob Collier yesterday. I don't know how to pronounce the name of his album. It's spelled like DJESSE. I be wanting to say Django whenever I see it, but that's not what it said. I don't know if the D is silent, whatever. I was listening to Jacob Collier though. And his song, I had Feel on repeat. His song with Leanne LaHavis.
Oh, hold on. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, you good.
But yeah, I had Feel on repeat. I don't know, I was just in the mood. And then y'all gonna judge me. Y'all promise y'all not gonna judge me if I tell y'all who else I was listening to.
I promise nothing, but tell me.
Go ahead.
Okay. I feel safe. I feel like this is a safe space. I was listening to K. Michelle.
Oh, okay, Michelle. Okay. That's okay.
I was.
Go ahead.
I had a K. Michelle day. Okay. I'm not gonna speak my piece on K. Michelle. I feel like that could be saved for another episode, but I like some of her music.
Well, for me, I don't have an opinion about it because I haven't listened to an extensive amount of her music. So I can't be like, ooh, or like say, yes, you should be, because I personally have not taken the time to delve into her catalog. So yeah, that's just for me. Not because not because I think there's something wrong with it. I just haven't had the desire to.
Oh no, that's valid. That's definitely valid.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I was all over the place.
Okay. What about you, KB?
I've been listening to everybody. Okay, so every day this week, I have drowned myself in B7.
Yes. I forget to say that.
I was shocked, but I was like, maybe she hasn't listened to it. So I was
No, I did, and I feel dumb.
Yes. So I am not one of those fans that's always like, oh, so-and-so is back or blah, blah, blah is back. But I will say I'm very excited for Brandy. I had to listen a couple of times to feel like, okay, I'm satisfied. But I also know that like art can be very subjective, and I don't think it's fair to expect a 41-year-old woman to do the exact same thing that she did when she was a sophomore in high school.
Come on.
Or, a young teenager. So I know we might not get the same feel, the same tracks, the same beats, but I am content. I'm happy. I'm happy for her. I'm really excited to keep listening so that I can not necessarily make an opinion, but so that I can memorize it, because eventually I will need to, know the whole thing. But I have also been listening to a lot of Corinne Bailey Rae.
Ooh.
I miss her so much.
Yes. She just warms my soul. Like,
I miss her so much. And I was probably like a junior or senior in high school when the actual like self-titled Corinne Bailey Rae album was out. So that always takes me back to that time, like, oh, I was 17, madly in love, just singing all these songs. Like, so I've been listening to that. I have also been listening to Pharrell. I have like these crazy times where I'm like super Pharrell heavy, like once a year. I really, really miss the Girl album from 2014.
Yes, I was hoping you were gonna say something about that.
Yeah,
I love that album.
Yeah, I really do.
So let's die.
Yeah. So I was listening to that a lot, and I did watch Black is King, the visual album by Beyonce, but I did not give it my undivided attention. I'm not a part of the Beehive, so I don't have much to say aside from the fact that she is crazy, genius.
I was gonna say, watch what follows that crazy now, because I'm a VIP member of the Hive. I get the P-cell passwords.
Y'all can keep all of that. I think there's a certain level of commitment that comes with being a part of the Hive that I ain't committed to nothing like that except for my own marriage. So I'm like, it's a whole nother level of like commitment to Beyonce. And I love her. Like she's crazy creative. I was just looking, I think what really caught my eye was all the colors. I love color. And that was probably what I liked the most for that visual album, was there was so much color.
I haven't watched it yet. I don't think me and Ashley were just talking about how we haven't seen it yet.
Because, and you know why I have, and that's, I feel like I'm slacking off, and I feel like I'm probably gonna get an email from her like, girl, your membership is gonna be canceled in 1 to 2 business days if you don't watch this film. Because I haven't been able to really sit down, like you said, Khalil. Like when I watch it, I want to be able to watch it. Like phone don't do not disturb. I don't want to be having to like type in like nothing. I just want to be able to watch it and like really take it in. One, because I was super excited about it because I knew it was like a visual album to go with the Gift album, which I love. I'm really into Afro beats and just like the whole flavor and vibe of that album. I loved it. So I was super excited when I found out she was making a film to it. And I'm like, I need to be able to sit down and really watch so I could sing along and just be in the zone.
Yeah. All right. Well, okay. For me, this is what I've been listening to. So Ashley put me onto a song called Something to Tell You by Haim. Okay. This song just makes me so happy. And excuse me. And I've been telling everybody I know about it. Like I played it when we was at the lake this weekend.
Yeah.
Your 29th birthday.
Yes. Woo! Yes, yes. So I played that for my friends. I've just been playing it all day. So I actually like listened to their full album. This is the one from 2017, so something to tell you.
Yeah.
And I mean it's considered alternative, but it's I mean, I feel like that's kind of what it is, but it gives you like 90s, rom-com feel
Mm-hmm.
and like maybe like some 80s. It's kind of like all over the place, but I love every bit of it. And then I've been listening to a guy called Bruno Major. He has an album. He's like an R&B guy from England. His this whole album is like very acoustic guitar, very chill, just really nice. And then I've listened to B7, and I like it. And but this is my opinion on B7, and I feel like this is my opinion on Brandy's music. Period. Her music is for the student of singing. Like it's not necessarily for the I wouldn't well, for like the average consumer, and not to say that you
It's
have
not commercial music.
yeah,
No.
right, exactly.
It's
Like
not for entertainment purpose. Like, I mean, it is
yeah,
entertainment, but you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, and that's what I'm like, it's not. When I say like not for your average consumer, not to say that people who listen to her are, technically above average, but you listen to Brandy's music to hear what she's doing, to
We
study
are.
what she's doing.
We
Right.
are above average.
period.
Amy said it. But yeah, so I mean, you listen to it because like the intricacies, and you want to hear the intricacies. Like you want to hear what she's doing, and you have to listen to her music, like with headphones. It's music that you have to pay attention to. It's not necessarily music that like catch you off guard from the beginning if you're not actually paying attention to it.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I mean, like headphones in, listening to that album is so much stuff that you just like, yes, it's just that's
Gotta
tradition.
keep rewinding.
Yeah, right. Had you like, wait a minute, did I just hear that? And it's just like, I mean, just traditional Brandy in that sense, not in like sitting up in my room, as in like different stuff going on in the background that you actually have to pay attention to, and just still good. So that's what I think that's it in terms of what I've been listening to. And then I've been listening to Givian's album too, especially the song "World Recreated." That's the one they used it in an episode of Insecure. So I'm listening to Givian. I'm not sure how to say it, but yeah, that's what I've been listening to.
Cool. Okay, can we come back to me, because I ain't get to say what I felt about B7, because I forgot to put it in my what I've been listening to list, because I definitely did. I think I would finally listen to it like 2 days after it came out, but I agree. I like it. I really like it a lot, and I do want to go back and listen to it some more, because like you said, it's so layered and so just like full. Like I love listening to artists where I know that they were thinking through each part and thinking through like the background vocals and how they wanted it to sound. Like I love that about Brandy, and I just feel like this album was really vocally focused, if that makes sense. Like it's not about the music, it's not about the beats. Like she was like, I'm gonna give y'all a voice. Yes. And y'all gonna love it. Like she knows her audience, she knows what we want to hear and what we're looking for. Like she know we want to be confused about these harmonies. Like how many parts are there? So I love that about B7, and I'm definitely gonna go back and listen to it a few more times so I can, like Khalila said, memorize it. And
yeah. I also wonder. This is how my brain works, so y'all don't judge me. But I thought about, like, I want to hear the perspective from her dad. And I want to hear what were like the sessions. What were the sessions like? How involved was he? And even the videos that he has shared in the past, or like some of the interviews he's done about how he trained her. Like that, to me, I care more about that than anything else. Or even, if we could get like a documentary or something from her daughter, like to hear how her daughter's voice sounds, and so well with her mom. Like
it's crazy.
She's even grown yet, and I'm like, this girl can sing.
Yeah, she's gonna be a problem.
She is a problem, and it's funny because hearing her sing kind of reminded me of how Karen Clark Sheard is always on Instagram playing around with her granddaughter, you know, and like, okay, you gotta do this run over again, or like you gotta, you know, and she's a little girl, but I'm like, yeah, she gonna be a problem too.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to get into our topic for today. But before we do that, we're going to play the rest of our chat with Granny, and then we'll be back to discuss some things that stood out to us. And now back to our regularly scheduled program. Okay, we are back. So, are there any things that stuck out to you all from our chat with Granny? You might want to go first.
I'll start.
Yeah, because I feel like I can't go first because
you know too much. It's not fair. But I thought it was really interesting how she was talking about how her mom didn't allow her to play race music or Black music in the household. And it just really made me think about how deeply ingrained racism is in this country. I don't even want to go there for real, but you know what I'm saying? Like the fact that her Black African-American mama would not let her listen to Black music in her own house. It's just like, wow, like that's deep. Yeah. That's deep.
It is. And I think with something too, kind of along those lines, just about the radio, is just how much radio controlled basically distribution and access to music, like how far we've come since then. Now, I mean, we can go, obviously, you know, kind of saying it's a great, but we can go to any streaming service that we want and find music that isn't on the radio and it's still popular. You can still talk to people about it. But, or if it was like a new song, you had to have it or you had to hear it on the radio. Like they had that much popular music back in the day. That was really interesting to me. Just how it's changed in, you know, however many, geez, it's 80 years since 1940. That's crazy. Anyway, go ahead.
Man.
Yeah. What about you, KB?
I think that it's always good to hear her talk about my great grandmother because I was really young when she passed away. I do remember, you know, I remember her. And you guys, you know, have never had a chance to meet her, but when you're talking as Megan and Ashley, as the two of you are talking about how it's ironic that an African-American woman was shying away from the type of music that my granny wanted to listen to. I think about colorism within our race, and she was a very fair-skinned woman.
Really?
And my grandmother is not. However, she did share that she was adopted. And I just think about the stories that I've heard about my biological great-grandmother and then my great-grandmother who adopted my granny. And I think that while they were friends, I can definitely see how they were also probably day and night in terms of my biological great-grandmother being a lot more social. And you know, I've even heard that she was, you know, she was fast, you know, she was fast. So I never remember, you know, my great-grandmother who adopted my granny, who we call Grandma Posey. We just called her by her last name. And even something like that, you know, I never even knew her first name until I was older. It was a very proper, conservative home that I always remember visiting. Things were really quiet. To me, or my recollection, you know, children were seen and not heard. And yeah, so I think about that too. You know, what was that like for her as a fair-skinned woman adopting a dark-skinned baby girl? You know, I don't know what, you know, what that was like for her, but I do vaguely remember her playing the piano. So yeah, I definitely wasn't like no down home gospel. The expectation was classical music. Yep. So some of the other things that really stuck out to me was that I've always appreciated my grandmother's love for all types of music. So I have, we have these family gatherings where we're not just listening to Earth, Wind, and Fire, or we're not just listening to like, the Black people barbecue songs. But we, my granny loved like Barry Manilow, and I think about all of the other artists that we've even, talked about on our Not Your Average Black Girl music episode. Some stuff that even like in high school or grammar school, I would have been ashamed to say like, yeah, I know this song, I listen to this too.
Right.
It's interesting when she talks about how she raised my mom, my aunt, and my two uncles to have this appreciation for so many different types of music. I see how it was like passed on to me, and I absolutely love the fact that she would make me, do homework to classical music, and hopefully I can have that bond or, that musical appreciation with my daughter as well. She loves, and so my 3-year-old loves when I play James Brown, but she also will, tap her feet when I'm playing jazz music in the car. So, hopefully I'll be able to pass that along. And that's probably one of the things that I really appreciated about how she grew up. And it really made her, it's like if you want to listen to the juke joint, but your mama is saying you need to listen to this hymn and this classical music, it's like, well, I guess it's gonna force me to learn all types of music.
Right.
Yeah. I was gonna say I thought that was really cool too, how, like you said, just hearing how, she made you listen to classical music, but how now it's not like something that somebody forced me to listen, like it's something that you actually go to on your own to listen to. And it just makes me think about like how our musical taste, like you said, just how our musical taste influences the next generation, like how me and Ashley have nieces and we just play music because we love hearing it and they're around, and just how just expansive their musical vocabulary will be because we listen to everything. And it's just little subtle things like that that are able to just help like the next generation know good music or just know all types of music. And like I said, not necessarily on purpose, but because we have it in us, we're able to pass it down and able to continue. And basically, I guess it's our version of like storytelling, or it's a story that they'll have a story to tell from this music because we were playing that music. And I just
have memories and experiences connected to different types of music. Yeah,
and I think that's really cool because I think for me, like my grandmother, so for me, I had basically one grandparent my whole life because my grandmother, she passed a few years ago, but she was like the only grandmother I knew, and I didn't really get the chance to ask her these questions. So it's really cool to ask your grandmother these questions and see how she grew up just continues to inform and influence the generations after her. And I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, I think that was special too. Especially knowing how much your family, loved and still loves and honors your grandmother. And then I still think it's so cool that they went to the same high school.
Yeah,
a year apart, and then decades later we meet through college, and
yeah. Ooh, look at God. What? Anything else? Like I mean, I got a few other things too that kind of a couple
Oh,
things.
go ahead.
Okay. So one thing is how Granny was talking about. You know, we were talking about Dinah Washington. She was saying, you know, people are reaching back to use their or like jazz
Mm-hmm.
for song for not songs for shows now or for music for movies now. And I thought something that's really interesting to me that I would love to like maybe talk to a music supervisor, a music coordinator, or somebody like that, or how in Black movies, instead of like film scores, people use jazz as film scores. Black people use jazz as film scores. And I think that's really cool because jazz is ours. And if it's a Black movie, like it makes sense for jazz to score the movie. And I wonder when that shift happened, when um just when it became a thing. Because I mean I love it and I feel like all music lovers do, but I want to know like when that happened. When did that change? When were people like, I don't want Hans Zimmer, I want Robert Glasper, you know,
Right.
like when did that happen? Because I think that's just
one thing I can appreciate about what's the name of that movie? The Photograph.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Just hearing some of the instrumental music, you know, and that movie was so Black. You know, that's what I loved about it. It was so Black, and not in a negative way,
Right.
you know, by any means, but just when I think about jazz music, you know, I think about how regal and, you know, how powerful music is, especially jazz music. But I always wish that I could go back, not for the sake of living through Jim Crow or anything like that, but I wish that we could go back to taking pride in like wearing gloves and hats and purses.
Girls.
Yeah, and just like, I mean, we get dressed now, but it's
They
fashion
got
after dress.
dressed, like everything.
Yeah, for sure. Things
Yeah.
were really coordinated, and I feel like,
Mhm.
you know, Black people, we held our heads high, and you know, we were really into being creative. Like we danced at parties. We weren't like stuck on our phones, and we reached out to strangers and we got to know people. We,
Mhm.
you know, traveled and relocated and we took more risks and we, you know, just kind of gave our all to be successful in arts, music, and entertainment. And I wish I could know what it was like to be a part of that field, you know, that Harlem Renaissance or, you know, the Chicago music and theater scene. Yeah.
That's kind of what I was going to touch on when Megan brought up jazz, and like how you all were talking about the Photograph. Because what I thought of, and because I kind of noticed it too, Megan, how more jazz is being used to film Black projects, and I just think I love that it's more accessible now. Like it feels more accessible to Black people, because for a while jazz was seen as like a bougie genre. You know what I'm saying? Like this is just for older white men that sip dark liquor in these jazz clubs downtown. Like that's
But
what
played
jazz
by
was.
us.
And it's crazy because we made it. Like jazz started out raw and gritty with, you know what I'm saying, groups of musicians in one room, you know what I'm saying, clubs, just jam sessions all night. Like it started, at the root, it was very raw. And it was just a raw form of expression. So I love that it's kind of getting back to that where it's just more accessible and more, I feel like it's more prevalent, and it's just opening us up to new sounds and just giving us a different perspective on what jazz is. And because you even got artists like Leanne LaHavis, and who else? There's so many I could name, but even Jacob Collier, even though he's not Black, but
Yeah.
he uses a lot of Black artists and musicians, which I appreciate. But yeah.
What was I about to say? We'll edit this out. But that's what I wanted to say. Speaking of like playing, you know, these clubs, something else that really I just was thinking but when Black artists such as, like she was talking about, Dizzy Gillespie or whoever would come to Chicago, they played Southside clubs. They played Southside.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you want to go see like somebody, not of course not like somebody who's big enough to sell out at the United Center or something. If you want to just go see somebody who wants to have like a smaller venue, people don't come to the South Side. One, because there's only like one venue that we can think of, that I can think of personally, that has enough space to do something like that, like the Promontory. Like if people were to go to the Promontory, that's where people have like small venues. But otherwise, then they going up north to Lincoln Hall, Concord, to Beat Kitchen, to all these different places. And not, I wouldn't say it's at the fault of anybody
Right.
that's coming from a different city, but it makes me think about like what happened. Where did the venues go on the South Side? I mean, I guess we can probably, we can infer, because we know what happens to our neighborhoods and stuff like that, and what has happened to the South Side. But it just, I mean, it's interesting, the contrast, because people will come to the South Side for shows, and now nobody. It feels like nobody will, unless it's like the Promontory, which is in Hyde Park, not
even like it's South, but
I mean it's South, but it's also people. I don't know if, well, it's gentrification. So people are over there. It's not as Black of a neighborhood as it once
was. Yeah.
Hyde Park isn't. Like, of course, you still got neighborhoods like Woodlawn is still. Even still, like you got exactly, like if we're going on a whole kind of like a different tangent, or just a little tidbit. Of course, gentrification is happening, and so I'm like, yeah, maybe they will start putting venues on the South Side, but will we be able to go to them? Or will it be just as hard for us to get to the South Side as it is for us to go up north, or will we have to travel? I guess we should say, because
but think about this. So PJ decided. PJ Morton decided.
I knew this was gonna come up. I knew this was gonna come up.
Promontory twice. Mm-hmm. What did we do? We fought. Like,
yeah. Wow. At a PJ concert. Yeah, that bugged me. That was
fighting at a concert about love, jazz, a man who's inspired by music from Stevie Wonder and
gospel.
Gospel music. He ends the song singing cheers. Don't you want to go where everybody knows your name? And then what we do at the end, we start boxing. Yeah. I bet you.
Like, what about cheers got y'all so nuts?
Right. Like, this is not like, we not going to see Katie Got Bands or whoever else.
Right, like
G Herbo.
Like, couldn't be ready to go after you leave a PJ concert. Yeah.
What about love and peace and staying together, or keeping up at your goals until you get it right? What about what makes you want to fight? But I guarantee you one thing: no fights on the North Side when he came back. So.
Yeah, I mean, like, again, so I mean, of course, you think about stuff like I think about stuff like that too, because I mean, I was at both of them. Anytime PJ comes, like I said, I go, and I'm just like, of course, you don't want to be the person who would be like, we can't have nothing. I mean,
that's like, you really don't want to think that way.
Say that. Like, you don't want to say that, but you also don't want
know
like
what it is.
You came to the South, the 2 times you came to the South Side, this is what your reference is, But that could, we could also, this is so many tangents, but
I'm sure there are several cities who feel the same way. I'm sure that in Charlotte, venues in Philly, New Orleans, LA, New York, Dallas, I'm sure we all have, in our metropolitan areas, we all have the same problem, but it just hits us a little harder because, we're from Chicago, so we would love to see more musical venues thriving on the South Side.
like, I mean, because she was talking about the Regal Theater, which used to be on, was it? She said 47th King Drive, and then, I mean, cause they have the Regal Avalon, Avalon Regal Theater, but I mean, who really knows about that one? But I did want to, I read that they're turning Muddy Waters' old house, which is on 43rd Park. They're like making it to a museum. It's going to be
cool.
They've been trying to do that for quite some time.
Yeah, but they've like solidified it maybe like a week or two ago. It's going to be the museum, a small recording studio, and then a small venue. So I was like, okay, maybe that can be like a start. I don't know. I just,
what happened to the Gospel Museum?
That's supposed to be here?
Yeah. I was thinking about that the other day. Like, what happened to that?
I didn't even know about that. But it brings me to the point too, how Granny said that they didn't sing like gospel music at church.
Right.
I know gospel wasn't like in the 40s, or I don't know exactly when music started. I probably shouldn't even say, because I'm supposed to be, this musical.
Well, no, think about this. So had she been born and raised in Arkansas like her other siblings, her biological siblings, I'm sure that she would know a lot. She would, and let me rephrase that. Had she been born and raised in Arkansas like the other siblings, because she's the baby, so everybody else is grown by the time she's and so she's growing up in South Bend, Indiana.
You're right.
So you're more evangelical, Protestant, Reformed Christian churches, where you turn to page 127,
right?
Amazing Grace, how sweet the sound, and it might not be the same key or the same unction, you ain't tapping your feet to this kind of Amazing Grace.
That makes sense.
Yeah, they wouldn't bring a tambourine to that church.
No. Certainly not. So I imagine that she would have known, more of the what we called at the time Negro spirituals.
Mm-hmm.
She would have known them.
Yeah, that is a good point. True. Anything else, y'all, that kind of, let me see if I had I think those were the ones that really stuck out to me. I mean, I was just happy to get a chance to talk to her. Like Khalila, I mean, like you said, you get to hear these stories all the time, but
yeah, she called a couple days. No, I called her the next day to say thank you, and of course, she told me she had a list of all the things that she couldn't remember during our first recording. So whenever y'all are ready, she has her list of everything that she could remember after,
I mean, you said, we ready. I'm always.
We gotta have her back. Yes.
Yes, always down to talk to Granny. Well, I mean, like I said, I loved it all, and I love history.
Yep.
Even before, because of course we get our U.S. history or whatever in school, and I actually like U.S. history, but to know more of our history and to hear it from somebody who lived it, at least for me, to hear from somebody who lived it as opposed to just reading about it, was one of like the great joy of talking to Granny, and really why I just hope that we can talk to, I know that. What am I trying to say? I am excited to talk to people from generations before us, and to be able to have this platform, just have this podcast, so we can record it. We can just have it for us to look back on, for us to show like the next person, or just share with everybody. I mean, because people don't always get to have these discussions or have these conversations, because sometimes we don't think to ask these questions, right? We don't think to because our parents and our grandparents, that's just who they are. They always been who they are. Like, we don't necessarily ask too much about what their life was before us, because
Well, I know for me, my grandparents died when I was younger. Like I was a kid, so I wasn't even thinking on this level then to ask these questions. So yeah, I agree with you. Like it was a joy for me to hear that from her too. I feel like I'm just now like asking questions to my aunts and like my uncles and my dad about what was life like back then. But yeah.
Yeah. I was about to say, well, yeah, good point. Because like I said, I had my one grandma, everybody else passed before I was born. And when I, did have my grandma, like I didn't think to ask these questions because she's grandma. We just here to see her. Here to hang out, not necessarily asking her like kind of what, or we didn't have the, I didn't have the, I guess the knowledge or the wisdom to want to ask these questions. I'm just glad we have somebody like Granny who we can talk to. I'm glad I'm glad Kalila lent us her granny for some time so we can talk. Yes.
I always joke and say my mama is obsessed with all my friends, so now you got one more other person to be obsessed with y'all.
Yes. Calling Granny every day. All right, well, I guess that's it. Are we done?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, guys. Well, that's it for this week's episode. Thank you for tuning in to episode 6 of the Do You Speak Music podcast. We will be back August 24th, so be on the lookout for that next episode to drop. We hope you all enjoyed this one and enjoyed our chat with Granny, who will definitely be back at some point. And we'll see you all August 24th.